everybody, and welcome back to another episode. Yes, we are back again. This is the official show or podcast or channel of nerdly.co.uk. We are Nerdly Out Loud. My name is Kevin Halden. We like to champion everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget over on our website, which is your favourite British home for all of your news, reviews, and exclusive interviews. But that's for another episode, because this is episode 2 of the Romford sessions. And you will notice that this time I am by myself. That's right, I hooked up with the festival, and I'm now putting out content for those guys. We're doing some interviews, we're doing some reviews, we're doing all that good stuff. Our first episode is on our feed below, but it is also on the Romford Horror Festival YouTube channel as well. So you can go over there. Please do give them a like and subscribe. Do that for us too. There is a button below. There is a like button. There is a subscribe button. And then there is a bell. You do all those things. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. The bell is a notification bell, and it will let you know when we drop a new episode. Last episode was really fun. It was good having Spencer on. It was amazing having Peter on to sit and talk about the festival itself. And then we interviewed the director of the movie Bad Candy, which is showing at the festival this weekend, and it was cool. It was awesome, because it was a horror movie that we all really kind of got behind. One of the few features at the festival. I think there was maybe like 7 or 8 features, and we all just unanimously thought Bad Candy was a great flick. Just so much fun. I think Peter summed it up best when he just said it was fun, and for the most part, that's what horror should be. Fun. I went out and I had a little look through again some of my personal favourites from the festival when I was looking to episode 2 and get another guest on. But I knew I was kind of going to be rocking by myself, because obviously the festival is ongoing right now and all the guys are down there doing their thing. You lucky buggers getting to sit in the cinema for the whole weekend. That is just awesome. But they've been putting some dose of content out. It's fantastic. You'll see it all on the Nerdly page as well. You'll see it all everywhere. We are trying to push that as much as possible. So this short movie is called Black Moon, and honestly it was one of the first short movies that I watched for the horror festival, and I genuinely loved it. I think the concept of this is fantastic. Just like one underpass on a scary dark night and sort of like spooky supernatural shenanigans. It's a simple concept. It's a super simple concept. And the guy that directed it, Ryan Graff, like this is like maybe his 3rd or 4th short movie, but he's done like over 100 sort of sound roles on movies and TV and stuff like that. So he's been like the boom operator. He's been the sound guy, the sound mixer, ADR recorder. Like he's done all that stuff. So he knows how important sound is. And in this movie, boy, does it show, because the sound is incredible. The tension is ramped up. It kind of becomes its own character. But we'll get into that in a minute. There's going to be a lot more content incoming. I'm going to try and get the guys from the panel on board, because I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 2 years of sitting on Zoom calls till like 3 in the morning, just deciding whose movie is the best and which one we love and who doesn't want someone else's movie to win. Like it's great. Like the conversations, although always respectful, have been quite heated at times, and it's been real fun doing it. And it's a part of this whole podcast and being just on the outskirts of the industry thing that I never really thought about. But Spencer kind of came around and he was sort of like, you want to check out some of these short movies? You want to watch some short movies for us? You can rank them. I think to start off with, I wasn't really intended on doing any sort of judging. It was just mostly to watch the movies, give an opinion, and let people know what I thought. The rest of the panel, yeah, just jump on the Zoom call. You ain't got nothing on right now. Lockdown's happening. Just jump on the Zoom call. We'll all talk about it, and we'll see what you think. I absolutely loved it. It was great. I got to give my opinion, and it varied to other people's from film to film. You got to experience sort of like what people were vibing on, which was cool. And then, yeah, and this year I've taken a much bigger role. I'm still part of the judge, and I'm still part of all that kind of thing, but now I'm obviously trying to put these episodes out for the guys. I'm going to be trying to push more and more of the creatives from the show. Having Scott Hansen on the last episode was brilliant. I'm going to get Ryan on tonight because I genuinely loved his movie, so we're going to be talking about that. I think what I might do, depending on how long this interview is, in fact, it doesn't matter, however long this interview is, I'll come back at the end, so please do come back at the end, and I will give you my 5 picks they not necessarily got nominated for things. They didn't necessarily do very well in the ratings with everyone else. But these are the 5 movies that I genuinely just thought were absolutely great, and I'm so glad they got shown at the festival. So that's what I'll do. I'll do that because on the last episode I asked Spencer, you know, what are you looking forward to everybody seeing? I asked Peter what was he looking forward to seeing. I didn't really give my input. So after this interview with Ryan Graff, I will come back at the end and I'll give you my 5 movies from the Romford Horror Festival, the first year that we've been a festival. It is amazing. I've just loved it. Like, I really wish I could be down there watching the movies with the guys. Do check out their YouTube channel, Romford Horror Festival. Subscribe to those boys as well. You will see this video over there. You'll see our videos over here. You'll see everything everywhere because we're just a little cross-pollination. It's what we love to do. But I'm so glad because the guys have told me it's gone super, super awesomely well the first day. Today is Sunday, so it's still ongoing right now, but I've heard today that it's going well again. Awesome. We've come out the other side of this well, we're not out the other side, obviously, but we are slowly coming out of the pandemic, and it would seem a lot of people are heading back to the cinema and they are wanting to take part in festivals. And for me, movie's the winner there. Movie is the winner there. These festivals are the winners, and I couldn't be happier to hear that that is the case. I personally cannot wait to get down to Romford, and hopefully I'll be down there for the main festival, which is a couple of weeks' time. In fact, I would love to be able to get down there. There's some awesome films in that festival too. We'll be doing a lot of coverage for that. So, yep, I'm going to go and make myself a cup of coffee or a vodka and Coke, depending how I feel. And Ryan will be on now in a minute, and we will be talking about Black Moon. So yeah, just for the sake of continuity, instead of coffee, I went with the vodka and Coke because I recorded an intro earlier, Ryan, and I said I was either going to have a coffee or a vodka. I would see how I felt. So just for continuity, I will let the watchers know this.
All right.
I am now joined by Ryan Graff, the director of short movie Black Moon, which is showing at the Romford Horror Festival this weekend. I've been reaching out to a lot of the different creatives that have been showing their movies with us and their projects with us. And this was, for me, this was a no-brainer because I think Black Moon was possibly the first short that I watched for the horror festival. And obviously I've watched them all now, but Black Moon was the first one. And even when I came to the end of it and we started talking about what we wanted to select for the festival, Black Moon was like straight away, it was like my just first pick. It was just like, make sure this gets shown. This is a fantastic short. We need to have this. So getting you on to do this was an absolute no-brainer. How are you tonight, good sir?
I'm good. It's it's night for you, it's morning for me, so I'm still kind of.
It is, yes. Although it's still daylight outside. We're in British summertime, so I mean it'll still be daylight till about 10 o'clock. Right. And we're winning the football, so that's good. Well, we were when I left. But how have you been? I suppose I would like to start there. I know it's a pretty downbeat way to start, but it means we can get it out of the way. How have you been keeping as a creative and as a movie maker? And obviously you've got your sound projects as well, all the TV shows and everything you do. How have you been keeping during this madcap time that we've been in over the last year and a half?
Well, it's there's been some wonderful family time, a lot more time with my two little girls. So that was a good thing. And then as far as creative stuff, I had a lot of time to sort of figure out what I wanted to do next. I've been dabbling in little things here and there, nothing, mostly just experiments, but where do I really want to go? And I like the freedom of shorts, and I want to, you know, sort of keep pushing that brand. And there has been some wonderful responses from Black Moon. So yeah, I kind of want to cement that brand on me a little bit further and see if I can make some more things like it. So I'm working on something like that right now, and I've started conceptualizing it even during the pandemic.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's we keep hearing sort of like from different sides of it, like the writers side of people and the writers side of the creatives, like they've been preparing for a pandemic their whole life because it means they've got all this time to do their writing and all that. But then a lot of them as well, funnily enough, are turning around saying, "But now that I've got all this time, I don't want to do it." So it's always a question I like to start with, just to see how everybody's kind of getting on and how they are. And so I'm assuming you've got loads of lockdown movies coming out of you for.
You know, it's. I have 3 projects that are kind of in the works in various stages. The one that I'm working on right now is the most horror specific, like Black Moon. But I don't typically consider myself a writer. Like I wrote the story, or came up with the story for Black Moon, but I brought in a writer to actually write the script. Yeah, you know, I'm, you know, plot driven. I come up with ideas and stuff like that, and then I usually like to develop with other people. I'm very collaborative in that way. So, sitting at home by myself, and you know, I would reach out to people and sort of say, "Hey, I want to do something new," and like, I got my own projects. I'm busy. I'm like, all right. Well. So, the DP of Black Moon and I, you know, and he's not a writer either. He's a DP. So, you know, but at least I had someone to bounce things off of, and over time we came up with this idea, and we've come up with ideas before, and it was sort of it's not, you know, it's not complete, it's not there, it's missing something. And we finally caught one that it's a micro short. It's probably going to be even slightly shorter than Black Moon, but I think it's really going to knock people back in their chairs the way Black Moon did.
Awesome. I mean, we've got another short showing in the festival this year. It's literally 1 minute long. It's The Mime, it's called. And when I first went to watch it, I was sitting there going, a minute? Like, what are you going to be able to do in a minute? And I'll tell you what, it's surprisingly effective. So I'm more open to the micro shorts now, which is a strange one for me.
Yeah. Well, but films myself, I have to give credit to with David Sandberg with his Lights Out short. I mean, that kind of what got me the idea of making a short as a realistic thing, because what was that, 3 minutes long, 4 minutes long? I can't remember what it was.
About that, yeah.
But obviously that launched his career in a big way, and that was a really effective short film.
So on that, you're talking about the process between you and your DP and sorting out your story and everything. Could you tell our viewers and our listeners just a little bit about what Black Moon is and where this concept actually came from?
Black Moon is how do you know, I've done this so many times and yet I still struggle to explain it every single time. This is
why I'm asking you. Because I couldn't really find a way to, without doing massive spoilers, I couldn't really find a way to describe it.
Yeah. You know what, even though it's not an anthology piece, it's best described as an anthology piece. It's something that belongs in something bigger. It's a snippet of a peek into a world of supernatural possibilities in a very scary way. The concept is, on the night of a black moon, the things that we, you know, fairy tales, lore, whatever it may be, become possible. That's the missing ingredient that people don't understand. So in this particular case, it's a pedestrian tunnel that lures in unsuspecting victims. And I can't really go to, it's Black Moon, it's a little condensed thing. I can't really go past that, but that's the general idea. It's a pedestrian tunnel, and that's going to lure you in, and only happens on the night of a black moon.
Is it, because I know, like, you would have set this in some sort of like factual thing. Like, is a black moon an actual thing? 'Cause I've never heard of one.
It is actually, and it came up. Actually, it came up after we even filmed the short. The short was missing that ingredient, and it was this cyclical thing. And I was actually meeting with my DP. We were talking about future projects. And he just happened to say, "Oh, you know, did you know tonight was a black moon?" I said, "What's a black moon?" So I looked it up. Yes, it's a real thing. I'm sure you've heard of a blue moon, right?
Yeah.
Once in a blue moon. It's the same concept. A blue moon is the second full moon in the same month. A black moon is the second new moon in the same month.
Wow.
And that's all it is. But you know, there's there's not really much to it. It's, people talked about, Wiccans and stuff like that, or pagans, would think spells became more powerful and stuff like that. But I ran with it. I was like, this is great. This is the magic that makes the whole thing come together.
Well, I was going to say, story-wise, it gives you like an entire world to play with, and if it's something that, like I say, I didn't know what it was, so it kind of you can make your own rules.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm tempted, always to fall back to it now as I come up with more ideas. It's like, why is this happening? Well, it's a black moon, obviously.
So instead of because movies, just black moon.
Black moon.
I personally love the underpass. Like, I live in a very small town in the Scottish borders, which is like right on the border of England and Scotland. It's very small. We don't really have an underpass anywhere. Mm-hmm. And every now and then, when I do travel down to the big scary city of London, they have a few, and underpasses are genuinely quite scary. Was the underpass part of your story from the start, or was it just like, oh man, I've seen this underpass, I want to set horror around that? And how did the underpass come to be?
Well, it's so funny because I was just saying, kind of the spoiler that Black Moon came late. You never know how these things come together because once you see it, it's just, oh, that's the way it's always been. No, Black Moon was actually a late edition. Yes, the underpass was the original part.
Right.
It's a couple of blocks from where I live, and I would drive past it to get food when I first moved into where I am now, and it just had this appeal. At night I'd look at it and it says, that's kind of creepy and haunting and interesting. I wonder, just very photograph, very interesting in my head. And an idea started to percolate in my mind, and it took a piece of this and a piece of that, and I probably recently had seen Lights Out at the time, and I think there was other pieces from other places that kind of caught my attention, and I kind of put them together into this idea. I'm like, I think that could work. And I was driving with my wife, just passing it, and I said, hang on a second. I pulled over and I went in and I took my camera and I took some pictures, and I said, this is going to work. And from there, I just made the film.
It's an awesome setting because they are eerie as anything in there. There's a couple of movies that as soon as I see an underpass that just immediately spring to mind, and nothing good ever happens in them. So it's kind of like as soon as your movie kind of started and she's walking along with the phone and then she looks at the underpass, I was like, oh no, don't go in there. But how, obviously it's like quite a claustrophobic place, and it's and that's where a lot of the tension's coming from. But how hard was it to shoot in there, or was it a generally kind of easy thing to do, or? I'm sure my DP would disagree completely with me, but I thought it was actually quite simple. It went very smoothly inside the tunnel. It was, you'd think, because it's this way, that way, and there's nothing really different about it. But when you follow the beats and the character and stuff like that, which motivates you to look at things slightly differently, for 7 minutes of film, roughly, I mean, the first minute or so is outside, we never really felt like we were repeating ourselves because there's different, things happening. And it's not so much about framing up a shot to look, interesting or cinematic or beautiful. It's about framing up different kinds of shots to express what's going on. And in that way, it didn't feel repetitive. It was always something fresh. So, and we actually ended up having, cutting a lot in the, we had more that we trimmed down to make it as tight and as effective as possible in post. And we still had more, types of movements and shots to continue moving that story forward. So I was surprised by that. And I get that question a lot. It just kind of, it looks like it would be an absolute mess to just try and film in. And obviously you're trying to make it look massive, and then other times you're trying to make it look short, and it's sort of, it just made me wonder, like, how on earth do you film an underpass?
Let the story be your guide. You just sort of follow what it needs.
Exactly. That's the answer you want. Your leading lady, is it Fabienne Tournay?
Fabienne, and I'm not even going to try to say her last name.
Yeah.
I always, you know what? I'm not going to say it. I was about to try. I don't think I ever asked her how to pronounce it properly. I should have done that.
Where did you find her?
We did an open casting. it was one of those things where, you know, some of the advice I got, because that was my first film, was, you know, just cast your friends, do this. It's like, I really, you know, I love my friends. I want to work with them, and I would invite them to come audition. But I just needed someone to surprise me, someone to, you know, just embody that, because it was going to rely so heavily on their performance. So we did an open casting, and we saw a lot of people. Me and the two producers broke up days of casting, and it was, you know, we had very little money to play with. So we were just, you know, whatever came our way. And, you know, there was we narrowed it down to a handful of callbacks. And the funny thing was, Julian, one of my producers, was there the day she came in for her first audition. And in the tape, that's the ridiculous thing about these casting tapes, you know, is it's this wide shot. You don't really get the intimacy of it, you know. So I just got to see the tape, and I was like, there wasn't really anything special that I saw in the tape. But he said in the room, he felt something, and I trusted his judgment. I said, well, let's bring her in for a callback. And what I did, because I'm a nut, and I like to be really immersive and interactive with people, is I said, oh, for the callbacks, though, I want a black box theater, and I had my little, you know, Sony camera, and it was just this little thing at the time. And I just, on the stage, you know, we would just go in circles around the stage, and I would just film them and walk them through parts and stuff like that. And when we were doing it, you know, both them in the audience and me just right there in front of her, I was there. I was in it, and it was like, okay, you know, there were some other good people that auditioned, but it just couldn't compare. She brought us to the tunnel when we were running around a stage. It's like, well, that's that. She's the one.
She is wonderful in it, and the sign of knowing how good she actually is in the movie is scenes where she's not really saying anything, or because there's not a massive great deal of dialogue, but she's so, like, she invokes you with just her look and everything, and she really got me. I was kind of like, man, it's like the tension's already there, and I'll talk about one of my favorite things in a second, but she absolutely just elevates the tension that little bit more as well. And so she was a great cast. She was a great cast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, to your point, there's not a lot of dialogue. There's almost no dialogue. There's very, very little dialogue. And it's something that you take for granted when you watch the film, because, you know, it just looks like that's the way it's meant to be. But as a performer, you know, for her, she had an empty tunnel and, like, you know, a camera person that she's not supposed to see running around her with, you know, a couple other crew. But other than that, it's just her in this empty tunnel, and I'm coming over and telling her, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And these different things are happening, but you don't see any of that. It's all her. So she's conveying different things through her expression and her feeling, and she's creating this arc of rising tension all through her performance, you know. And I mean, I do believe I'm a good director, and I helped her get there, but that's her. She, you know, and part of being a good director, I think, is casting someone who can do that like her. So I guess I just patted myself on the back, but
nothing wrong with that.
I couldn't have done it without her. And how difficult that really is when you really think about creating those moments with nothing, and yet you feel it when you watch the film.
Like I say, that's why I wanted to bring that up. But one of the other things, it almost becomes another character in the movie, is the sound. I fell in love with the sound of this movie from word one. I just thought the score, the sound, everything over the top was just, I don't want to say magical, but it was. It kind of like sucks you straight in. And then, of course, I went and had a look into yourself, and I realized that you've done all sorts of sound on all sorts of movies, and it's kind of, well, that's why it's good then. How important was it for you to make sure that you nailed all the tones? Because a lot of the sound flows with the cuts as well, and it's just, the whole thing's like a nice little merry dance, if you know what I mean.
It was very important to me. I mean, I am very sound driven. I do, you know, I do sound for a living, but the post sound and music is actually not my forte. So I was very trusting, and I wanted to work with, again, same thing with Fabian. You know, good people who make me look good, and I could kind of talk through what I needed from them. And we actually did 2 complete passes of sound. One version we did. With a very notable person who I won't say, but it just didn't work, and we ended up getting rid of that and starting from scratch. And then I went with the score approach, and it took a while to, you know, met with a bunch of different people. We, again, very little money, so we had to find someone who was good, that was willing to, that was just interested in the project. And finally, we found Adam Hill and Amari Paul. And we spent a year playing with that, you know, and they were just sort of willing to go with it nights and weekends. You know, every so often they'd send me something, we'd do notes, go back and forth. I definitely was clear that two of my main inspirations for the music, and that I kind of let them make it their own, was Twilight Zone and Pan's Labyrinth, which I think brings you to the magical thing. And Julian,
Pan's
again, my
Labyrinth,
producer,
definitely.
you know, he would use the phrase magical realism, which is a genre that I'm not particularly familiar with, but I loved, and I included that as part of the score because I think there isn't, you know, it's horror, but there is a magical realism, which I think makes it more real.
That's so cool.
But magical too. And I think that comes across in the score as well. And then for the final sound design and bringing all of that, those musical elements and then the production elements and some sound design elements together, Nathan Rule and This Is Sound Design. I've been a big fan of them since I did a production sound for a film for Netflix many years ago. And I just loved what they did. So even though that film had nothing to do with horror, I could see their talent. I was like, I gotta work with them. So we ended up getting them. They were willing to work with us. We just got them at the right time, and they did a fantastic job.
They did, like I say, it was it was just really funny. But with Black Moon, your short, it was just really funny because you had this actress that just totally sucked me in. You had this underpass, which they're scary as hell anyway, you know, beautiful places to shoot, and then you just had this score over the top as well. And I was just sitting there thinking, this is about as perfect as this gets, really. So yeah. So
Thank you so much. That's very flattering, and I appreciate that. I love that we're getting that reaction frequently from people. You know, it's hard to get it out there in front of people. You know, I don't have a big network and stuff, but festivals like this and certain people, and you know, sometimes I go to festivals and you're chatting with people and it's, you know, it's like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. It's like, oh, really? Okay, nice to meet you. You know, I mean, they're very kind and we're all you know, in this together, but sometimes you come across that person, you say, oh yeah, what did you do? And I said, oh, my film's Black Moon. And I go, I love, you know, and I love that reaction is why you do it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I can imagine that would be a great feeling. As we spoke earlier, I basically, when Black Moon finished, I was waiting for more. I did want a lot more, and we've kind of hinted on it a little bit and how I feel like there's a whole universe to be explored, and it sounds like that's deep rooted in your mind. So can we expect more shorts, kind of keep along that anthology theme, or how about an anthology feature? Was that something you'd fancy doing, or what's your feelings for the future of Black Moon?
It's all possible. It's something that's been dabbled with, but nothing official in the works right now. I think an anthology series is kind of where I think it would work best. But I don't have necessarily all the stories that would be in that series. Right. So I'm kind of interested in, because my main thing is directing, and it's kind of a hard place to be right now because, you know, people want to direct their own stuff, or they, you know, most of the attention goes to writers and concepts first, and the world of Black Moon is a great concept, but there's not a lot to build on. There's, you know, you really need other people to come and fill in and kind of go, okay, well, I have an idea that could be that universe, and I can kind of jockey it around and sort of say, oh, I think this works, that doesn't, you know, we can play with that. But it's hard to build that cachet where it's like people will come and bring me ideas. So I'm gonna crack out some more short films, maybe a feature, you know, build up a little credibility, and then come back to that, because I don't want to just do it. I want to make it something really special.
No, I think you've definitely got a firm grasp on what you want it to be, and sort of you've got a good building block to start with Black Moon, and as you said, like, I've had a look around as well, and it is getting a lot of like good responses from festivals and whatnot. I mean, I went on your IMDb page, and it's for Black Moon, and it's not often you see that many reviews for a short movie.
Yeah, no,
you know, like,
they're fantastic. I mean, the reviews have been one of the best things, and the audience, you know, reciprocates the exact same feeling. So, you know, we've been sad to be turned down by certain festivals, and then of course, you know, be nominated but not win certain things, especially sound. Not winning sound is like, how dare you? But you know, as much as those things have been good, but I was hoping for more. The response, both critically and from the audience, has been fantastic. I just want to get it out. I've got to figure out how to get it in front of more people.
Ryan, I'm going to start wrapping it up here. You've been amazing coming on, and I've loved talking to you a little bit, and I'm definitely going to be keeping in touch with you and finding out what's going on next, and keeping up to date with any more projects incoming. The movie showed last night at Romford, the horror festival, and from what I'm told, it went down a storm. Obviously, I can't be down there right now, which is a shame. I live about 4.5 hours away. And I think, given the current situation, it's maybe not the best idea. So I really wish I was down there. But from what I'm told, it went down a storm last night. And I believe you're up for 2 awards in the award ceremony tonight. It was director and actress, I believe.
Oh, fantastic. I hadn't heard that.
But again, I hope the movie keeps on going, and I hope you get out to more and more people. And anything we at Nerdly can do, and anything we at Romford can do, we will champion this movie and push it as far as we can for you, because I genuinely, like I say, it was one of the first ones I watched, and it's the one I'm still thinking about. So one last thing I'm going to ask you to do, which is the thing that puts everybody on the spot. I've kind of already done it, but before we go out and we leave, tell people why they should watch Black Moon.
People should watch Black Moon if you do love just good storytelling, and you like a really visceral reaction. You want something, you know, that's gonna make you feel deep inside. You know, it definitely speaks to you on a very deep level. It's scary in a true way. You know, it's not a cheap scare. It's gonna stick in your head. So if you're looking for that, then Black Moon's the place to look.
Awesome. So with that, Ryan, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to wrap this out. I'm about to do my 5 movies of the festival to wrap out this episode. So I'll let you see what happens there, because I have a sneaking suspicion a certain movie we've been talking about might end up in there. But I am going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, and go and look after those 2 girls of yours.
All right, you go look up your 3.
So yeah, I just want to say another massive, huge thank you to director Ryan Graff for coming on and talking about his short Black Moon, which genuinely, as I said during the interview, I'm not trying to big up people for the sake of it or anything, because I'm interviewing them. I genuinely really enjoyed Black Moon. It's definitely one of the, I would say personally, from my point of view, maybe not everybody agrees, but it was definitely one of my favorite movies of the Romford Horror Film Festival. That is why I reached out to him, because I really want to champion the movies that we are in this position where we can champion the movies that really hit with us. And that was one that hit. Bad Candy, we spoke to Scott Hansen. I'll hopefully have a couple more interviews coming on after the festival that I'll be getting Bradley, and I'll be getting Peter and Spencer, and hopefully Louise. I'll be getting people on with me, and we'll talk about. But again, one of the things that I did during the first episode that we did with the Bad Candy guy, Scott Hansen, was I asked Spencer and I asked Peter kind of what movies they were looking forward to people checking out in the cinema, at the festival, what movie I wanted to know what movies that they were looking forward to them personally seeing. And we got some good answers. We got some great answers, but I didn't really throw anything in myself. So what I wanted to do was give you sort of my 5 picks of the Romford Horror Festival, because I can. Yes. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to give you my 5. And now bear in mind, these are not necessarily the award winners at the festival. These are not necessarily the movies that came out on the top of the pile at the festival. These are my personal favorite 5 that I just think everybody should check out. There were so many other fantastic submissions this year. There was loads, and it was really hard to kind of narrow down A, what we were going to show, but also B, what we were going to nominate. I think we did a damn fine job of getting that down to the nominations, and it was hard. It was a lot of conversation, but we got there in the end, and I'm happy with what's up there. But personally, I just wanted to give you a taste of what my 5 were. And if you happen to have gone to the festival and you've seen some of the movies, I would love it if you put in the comments below what you thought of these particular 5. So you know what? Let's just get into this and let's just do that. And yeah, remember, this is my pick, not the pick of the festival. No particular order. I will just give you my 5. So first movie that I'm going to go with is the short movie Cassette. It's an 8 or 9 minute movie that is about a video store, as you might understand. And it's sort of like this old boy's working behind the counter and a young lad comes in and he kind of I'm looking for a job. Can I get the job? He gives him the job there and then. And then as he leaves, shenanigans begin to happen. It's got an amazing, amazing retro vibe to it. I worked in a video shop when I was like 18 to 24. Like, I worked in a video shop. I know that environment. We talked movies and we did meta things all the time. And Cassette is just like a love letter to the video shop days, the clerk days. So I just fell in love with it as soon as it came on. And I think the lead, the main guy, and the young lad, all excellent. And it's a great little horror vibe as well. So if you like your Stranger Things, if you like your retro 80s stuff, you're gonna love Cassette. It's just, and it gets in and gets out, and it does what it's supposed to. Yeah, I really enjoyed Cassette, and I hope if you saw it, you did too. If you didn't, down below. The second flick I want to shout out is Chromophobia. Now, I'm a little bit biased on this one because I did speak to the guys and ask them if they would submit this movie, and they did. And because I really, really enjoyed it, the director, it's co-directed by Mark Ledyard and Gavin Williams. And Gavin Williams, you may know, he wrote the movie Await Further Instructions, which was a little smash hit horror a little while back. Chromophobia is kind of them coming out of their comfort zone and really going for it with the shorts. They've made their own production company. This movie was sort of like a post-apocalyptic tale, and there's people running around with paintball guns, which doesn't sound all that serious and all that horrifying. But the main concept is that colors, it's not the wind like The Happening. It's not Freddy or Jason, but colors can harm you and can do damage. I'm not going to say too much more because it might be spoilerific, but I really enjoyed Chromophobia. I think the concept's very high concept, and I hope they expand on this world in the future. Third movie I'm going to give you, no surprise. You've just spent an episode watching me talk about it, talk to the director, Ryan Graff. Black Moon. If you went to the festival, I hope you checked out Black Moon. It was a wonderful short. Again, 7-8 minutes, gets in, gets out. I genuinely loved it. And the sound in this movie is just beautiful. It's just like everything's working for me. The lead actress is wonderful. The sound is great. Obviously, the direction's good because he's casted this lady and he's got the sound and the cinematography and an amazing set. So he's done fantastic in his directing duties. And the editing's nice and frenetic when it needs to be, but it's also nice and slow when it needs to be. So there's a lot going for this show. And again, when I talk about further projects and expanded universes, this is one I would very happily, very, very happily sit down and watch more of. If you wanted to go down the road of making more shorts or making an anthology movie, absolutely, I'm with him. I'd watch anything that comes from this project, and I hope everyone gets into it, and it's a bit of a vibe. So the fourth flick I'm going to give you is A Piglet's Tale. It's an animated movie, and it looks beautiful. It's stunning. It's great until it's not. This is kind of the movie that I really thought I might be able to watch this with my girls, because I'm always trying to find them new things, and I'm always trying to find them like different projects, different realms, different genres. Let's get into this. But not everything that I like is watchable for these girls. One's 13, so she might have got away with it. But the last 2 minutes of this movie, and even though they lay seeds all the way through this gorgeous animation and the lead breadcrumbs for you, and even though they do all that, they hit you with an absolute haymaker in the last 2 minutes. Oh my God. Like, wow. So, I don't want to say brave. Brave's not a word that I really like to throw around all that often, but it is pretty brave, to be fair. I loved it. If anybody saw it this weekend, I guarantee they loved it. Piglet's Tale. So the last movie I'm going to give a shout out to is a movie called Bloodshed. Again, it's another short. We did have quite a few features in this festival, and I think it was like 8 or 9 in total, and they were all great. They were all great. But you tend to find with stuff like this, when you're dealing with shorts and features, the shorts kind of get a bit more of a look in than the features. Obviously, because they're really short, so you can kind of get through it, and it's not a problem, and you can be good at, like, you can be amazing as you can. But Bloodshed, it's hard. This is a hard one. Without really getting into spoilers, this is hard to talk about, but I really, really enjoyed it. I want everyone to check it out. The director's fantastic. The lead actor is wonderful. There are some really, really risky choices, I thought, in color tones and whatnot, or lack thereof. If you've seen it, you know. But this really struck a chord, and the dialogue is just superb. The score, there's not a lot of dialogue, but what there is superb. The score is insane. It's just such a nice score to lay over the top. It's quite funny when you talk about horror movies, when you talk about beautiful scores. But some of these movies this year, that is exactly how I would describe them. So yeah, Bloodshed is another massive recommend from this year's festival. I would love everyone to check it out. And again, if you checked out any of these 5 movies or anything from the festival, please do let us know in the comments. I will reply to whatever I can. I'll keep an eye on the Romford page. I'll keep an eye on the Nerdly page. I will reply to comments. Let's have a discussion about what was good at the festival, what we loved at the festival. A quick shout out to some other movies that were in the festival. Obviously, we had New Woman. I spoke to the director last year for the Romford Festival. Absolutely, we all love New Woman. It's just a great movie, and he is a wonderful, wonderful chap. I will be reaching out to him to try and get him on to talk about that short again, because New Woman's just fantastic. You had Blissburger there this year. That was a great movie. Honor Amongst Thieves turned up again. That was a great movie. VHS Forever story, the Camden story. That was a fantastic documentary that really kind of took me by surprise. It was a great feature. Obviously, Bad Candy was a wonderful movie. We talked to Scott about that. We had a stellar lineup, and then you had like the lower end of the scale there. You had like No Budget Leash, which got a lot of love from our panel, and it was a fantastic shot. I watched their interview today, and you kind of got a feeling that they thought they were a little bit out of their depth. But let me tell you, boys, you created a fantastic show there. You were not out of your depth. You were well within your right to be in amongst all those other movies. And if you don't think you were, well, you're wrong. So there you go. That's coming straight from me. My personal friend, that guy right there, Chris, his movie was showing this weekend. What You Can't See, we got to show that this weekend. That would have been, I would have loved to have been there for that. I know fine well he would have loved to have been there, but from what I'm told, it went great. So that's awesome. Again, What You Can't See, hitting the festivals. Just, we started a podcast 6 years ago, and now he's made a short movie. That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Magpie played. Magpie was great. Rookie Baby, I loved Rookie Baby. Just so good. The lead actress in that was just absolutely brilliant. Amongst many, many more, there's The Allotment. The Allotment was a fantastic short that, again, made on an iPhone with very little budget, if any budget, and it can rock with the big boys. It can rock with the festival because it was that good to be shown. We loved it. Witches of East End, another documentary that we all love. I'm just going to stop because there's far too many. I think we showed about 90 films or 70 films or something like that. We showed a lot of films this weekend, and they were all top quality. We chose them. We loved them. It wasn't an easy selection process, but we got it down to what we thought was a great selection. So again, from me, from Spencer, from Peter, from Bradley, from Louise, we've had a fantastic weekend. It's been awesome. I would love for you to check out all the movies that were shown. If you can find them anywhere else, if they're at another festival that you happen to be near, go and check them out. There's nothing else I can say other than I'm so happy to be part of this. I really want you to go over to the Romford Horror Film Festival, unless that's the page you're watching it on. If you are, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. If you're on the Nerdly page right now, please do hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. It gives you a notification every time we release something. I've got loads of reviews incoming. I'm going to be doing some of the festival reviews on their page. I'm going to be doing them on our page. It's going to be a nice big smorgasbord of just messy, sweaty, cross-pollination. I keep saying that. I don't know why I keep saying that. So please do check all that out. Nerdly Out Loud, nerdly.co.uk. Please do go to the website, check out everything on there. We would love you to go there. We have a section coming on to the website, which is going to be strictly Romford Festival. So if you want to see more about the festival, you'll be able to go there. Or you can go to the Romford website. I'm babbling. It's bloody hot in here, and I've been sat here for about an hour and a half. I'm going to go.